Hello, and welcome to Astronomy 010, which is general astronomy taught at Solano Community College. This is, of course, the fall of 2021. This is entirely an online course, and it's an asynchronous course. So that means that everything happens on a week-to-week basis, but there's no scheduled times for class meetings or anything like that, okay? The CRN here, you can see, is 80361, okay? So again, welcome to the course. My name is Trevor H. Gonzalez-Nayetz. I have a PhD in biophysics. You can call me Dr. Gonzalez-Nayetz or Dr. G, or you can also call me Professor Gonzalez-Nayetz or Professor G. Okay, so this is my email here. You can see this is at solano.edu. You can reach me there, but that is not my preferred means of communication. The best way to get a hold of me is to send me a message in Canvas, because I'm on Canvas a lot, taking care of the course page. Okay? I do have office hours, so that's a great chance to talk to me if you have questions about the class, maybe the structure of the class early in the semester, or the class content as we go on. And those office hours are going to be every Monday from 10 to 11 a.m. starting next week. So that would be starting on the second week of instruction. And in order to get to those office hours, you just have to go to my personal Zoom room, I guess, and the Zoom link is given right here. Okay, so hopefully that will work out fine for all of you. Now, we do have a textbook. I'm going to talk more about what's required from that textbook, but here is the name of the textbook. It is Cosmic Perspective Fundamentals, and that is the third edition, which is the new edition. I was using the second edition as recently as the last time I taught this class, okay? Now, we also have some student learning outcomes because this is an astronomy class. What parts of astronomy are we looking at? Well, kind of all of it, right? But we just cover the basics. So we're going to talk about things like constellations, eclipses, the equinox, phases of the moon, ideas like the solstice, and meteors, and the looking at the sky and how to quantify the sky. Okay? Then we're going to get into some of the physical laws that are behind astronomy, because astronomy is a physical science, so some of the laws of physics are going to be applicable to astronomy. Those are like Newton's laws, special and general relativity, which are Einstein's laws. We're going to talk about a kind of the main diagram of astronomy. I always compare it to the periodic table, which is in chemistry, of course, and that's the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. This is that one very important diagram for all of astronomy. Then we'll talk about ideas like dark matter, dark energy, and the idea of the cosmological redshift. And if some of these don't make sense, they seem just like random terms, but of course it's fine. We'll talk about them later. Then we're also going to talk about a bit of the history of astronomy, going all the way back to people like Aristarchus, Ptolemy, Pythagoras, Copernicus, Bruno, Kepler, Galileo, Einstein, Hubble, and then moving into the 20th century and so on. Okay, so we've got some big physical ideas, the observing the sky, and then the history of astronomy as the main objectives of this course. Okay. Now, Canvas is where this course is going to take place. This course is very much centered on Canvas. If you look down underneath my video here of myself, you can see I have the Canvas page open. There we have Astronomy 010, 80361, and the home page is the modules, because the modules is where I'm going to be putting most of my focus. The other thing that's going to pop up on the home page are going to be recent announcements. I'll make a recent announcement, for example, about this video. Perhaps that's how you found this video. And so other relevant recent announcements, sometimes I have to make a change to something, or I just want to remind you about an important upcoming part of the class like an exam. Well, that's all going to come up here, and you'll see announcements at the top of the page. But underneath are going to be the modules themselves. Each module covers one chapter. Generally, it's 1 week, although we have a couple modules that cover 2 weeks. We'll see that again in the calendar in just a minute. So you can see here that if we look at the module for chapter 1, we've got the welcome video, we've got the syllabus, there's always going to be slides, there's always going to be a video, for not a welcome video, but a lecture video, also recorded by me. And then there's going to be essay questions, and we'll talk about what we do with those essay questions. And you can see the essay questions show up as as like a forum, as a discussion forum or a discussion board, and there's a good reason for that. Okay, and then the one thing that I haven't added yet to Module 1 is homework 1 and quiz 1, and those will show up. And probably by the time you look at Module 1 after this video is posted, you'll see that there's going to be 2 extra parts of Module 1, homework 1 and quiz 1. And we'll talk about where to access those assignments. Okay, and there's always going to be one quiz, which is a reading quiz, which is due a couple days before the homework, and then one homework assignment for each chapter. All right, one chapter, one quiz, one homework. Pretty straightforward, right? And generally 1 week, except again, some of those chapters, I spread them out over 2 weeks. because we don't have 17 chapters and we have 17 weeks, which is nice. We can take our time with some of them, okay? All right, so now let's talk specifically about the homework. Now again, you don't see it here in Module 1, but I can go over to it. If I click over here, and I take a look at, oh, actually that's not where I want to go. If I go over here and I take a look at the modules, I'm gonna go down to a page that you don't need to see. It's kind of a behind the scenes, which is assignments. Again, because all these assignments will show up in their relevant modules. But if you take a look, those are all those essay questions. We'll talk more about those in just a second when we talk about participation. But if you go down here, you can see quiz 1 and homework 1 have been created. And that's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about homework. Okay, so all the graded homework will be completed online with Mastering Astronomy, which is linked to the course Canvas site. So for example, if you click on homework 1, it will actually then take you over to a place where you can go to the website for Mastering Astronomy. Okay, so you would actually then, if you were to navigate over there, you would go to a different page. Okay, what is that other page? Why is it not in Canvas? Well, you'll see soon. Okay. So assignments and due dates are listed after you've added yourself to the course. So you'll see all the due dates. They'll show right up in your to-do list, right? That's kind of the student view of things. But they're also listed in the calendar below, okay? Now, homework will be a combination of interactive tutorials and math-based problems. So what you don't see in the homework at all, in terms of the content, are multiple choice questions. Okay, multiple choice questions, they're important on the exams, they're important on those reading quizzes, but they don't show up in the homework. The homework is for practicing, actual free response, not typing them up, but putting a numerical answer, which is either right or wrong, or doing like a ranking task or interacting with a video somehow. And so those are the types of problems that I choose for the homework, okay? And again, they're all gonna be web-based. They're all gonna be through a particular site, that Mastering Astronomy site. So the total of all your points from your homework is worth 20% of your overall grade, so a fifth of your grade, okay? So now let's talk a bit more about the homework and how you access it. So you can see here there's a tab that is My Lab and Mastering. Now that one shows up on my version of Canvas and will also show up on yours. So if you take a look at My Lab and Mastering, you can see mine says Open My Lab and Mastering. The first time you click on it, it will say Get Started. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means it will take you to the web page, which is through the publisher Pearson, the publisher of the textbook, because the homework and the quizzes are from the publisher and they're from their website. Now, their website is a paid website. So to access the quizzes, the reading quizzes, which we haven't talked about much yet, and the homework, which we have talked about, you have to pay for access to that publisher's website. Now that access costs about $70 and maybe $80, somewhere in that range. You can also bundle the access to the online homework and online quizzes with a textbook. You can buy a copy of the textbook. As long as it's a new copy of the textbook, it will come with an access code, which will allow you to get into that paid site. Or you can buy an e-text directly when you go to this link. Because again, this orange link for you, the first time you go to it, will say Get Started. One of the options is to pay for access to the quizzes and homework and also include a copy of the textbook in an electronic format. And that's all you need. You don't need a physical copy of the textbook if you don't want one, okay? And that'd be a way to get it a little bit quicker if there's a delay in getting a physical copy of the textbook. Okay, used copy of the textbooks would not come with the access code, but you could, of course, buy a used copy of the textbook and then separately buy access. Okay, and it's all comparable depending on the cost of used copies and so on. Although you may have a hard time finding used copies of this particular textbook because it's a new edition, it's a 3rd edition. So hopefully that's clear in terms of paying for access to the homework. During the first week, of course, we have some due dates coming up. I'll highlight those due dates in just a moment. I understand if some of you may have some hurdles of maybe paying for the access right away during this first week, or just some technical issues about how to get it to work, maybe just because the browser you're using isn't working, so then I might recommend using a different browser. That comes up a lot. Or just for whatever reason you're having some technical issues, you might have to talk to technical support, through customer support, through the publisher, Pearson, because I can't help you with that. But regardless, there can be some delays, right? Whether it's financial or technical. And so I understand that on those first assignments, you may need an extension. But later on, I can't give extensions on the homework because we got to keep the course moving along, okay? And it just slows everything down if I'm constantly giving out extensions. And I think the due dates are rather easy to keep up with in this particular class, okay? But during the first week, I certainly understand, all right? First week and a half or so, all right? So that's the idea behind the homework, the paid access to the homework. Now, again, why do I use the paid homework, right? Rather than say writing my own homework assignments, because I really like those interactive videos, those interactive assignments that are made possible within their website, right? They put a lot of work into these problems, and I think that it's worth the cost. And it's also, if you really feel like you can get by without the textbook, the one thing you absolutely need is to just pay access to the MyLab and Mastering, also called Mastering Astronomy. Okay, so you could just get access to the quizzes and the homework and not even get a copy of the textbook, but that would put you at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of kind of keeping up with the content, because sure, you'd have the lecture slides, you'd watch the lecture videos, but you wouldn't have that document to refer back to. So certainly I would advise getting a copy of it, but if you absolutely want to save money, you could just get access to the quizzes and the homework. Okay? All right, so we'll get back to the quizzes in a minute, but if you look, the next item on the syllabus document is participation. And I'm going to go back to the home here on our course website. So, right, and again, I'm just going over everything that's in the syllabus. You, of course, can look at the syllabus yourself anytime after the fact. When you forget this information, you need to remember, oh, what's the rule for this class, right? So participation, what is the deal with participation? Well, participation is the essay questions. So weekly essay questions and participations are the same thing, just the same thing by two different names. Because the way you participate is by answering the essay questions. Why do I call them essay questions? Because those same essay questions show up on the exam, right? So there's kind of a reason to call them essay questions rather than just calling them participation. But again, the way you get participation credit is by answering essay questions within this forum, right? This discussion board. You're going to make posts. Those posts are going to be graded and you're required to do them. But how many and what's the deal with them, right? Well, let's read over the bullet points here. So the graded form of participation will take the form of either submitting answers to short essay questions each week or elaborating on your classmates' submitted responses. Now, I'm not saying you need to submit them each week, okay? I'm saying that there are essay questions each week. And that, I know that confuses some people, okay? So there are essay questions available each week, but you do not have to post each week. More on that in just a moment. Right, so the format of this participation is through the discussion boards that are part of each weekly module. Each weekly discussion prompt will include 4 essay questions, which you can individually choose to answer if no other student has already answered them. Please don't answer questions that have already been answered, okay? There are enough to go around to get your participation, and if they've all been answered, then you can just respond or elaborate on other people's answers. So that's the next bullet point here. You can also elaborate on other students' answers with a comment, okay? Or on their discussion post if you think of something more, so you're adding something. So by the way, you will not get credit for saying, oh, that was a great response. No, you have to actually add content to what they said. Or you might make a small correction to what they said. You're like, yes, you said this, but it was a little vague, or it was a little misleading, or maybe they got something wrong and you want to clarify that, okay? And posts and comments will be graded on completeness and clarity, okay? They don't have to be correct. If you make a mistake, but you express yourself well, and then someone pointed out your mistake, that's fine. You're still going to get full credit for that particular participation. Okay, I almost said that week's participation, but that would be again implying that you have to participate every week. You do not have to participate every week. Okay, so you might be wondering, how often do I have to participate? I'll tell you. Right, just hold on. Okay, so participation represents an opportunity to practice the textbook questions in the class that require short essays to answer. So these are mostly from the textbook, okay? All right, so to potentially receive full participation credit, you will have to post 6 times to the discussion boards. Participation is worth 15% of your final grade, so pretty significant. Less than homework, but still a good chunk of your grade, just under a fifth of your overall letter grade in this class. Now, so 6 times, well, we got 17 weeks. That means really you could take like 10 weeks off, or 11 weeks off, I guess, and post the rest of the time. But we don't have that many modules, right? Because we have a couple modules that spread over 2 weeks. But the point is that you only have to post a total of 6 times. Now, you can't post more than once per week, all right? It's always a once per week post. But the point is that you choose 6 total weeks where you're going to take part in that participation. And please don't participate if you're past your 6, or if you're not intending to get credit for that participation, those essay questions, okay? So only post 6 times. Choose the 6 times you want to post. Some of you might want to post right away, say during this first week, and get some participation credit done. Some of you are going to wait until after the first midterm. But the point is you choose 6 times, okay? The idea there is it's quality over quantity. I want good posts, 6 total posts over the entire semester, right, over those 17 weeks, rather than a post every week that is just kind of, oh shoot, I have to do a post, I'm just gonna throw something down, I didn't put much thought into it, okay? So I'd rather these be thoughtful posts that are well reasoned out, instead of just having to do it every week. That's why I only require you to participate a total of 6 times, okay? Now, I will be responding myself to these posts. Now, I won't respond to every one of your responses, but I will respond to any individual question. So, for example, if you look at the chapter 1 questions, you can see, and there's more information here, and in these bullet points it explains some of the same information that is explained in the syllabus, because a lot of people get confused about participation. Okay, so I reiterate the rules of participation, how to get credit for it, right here at the top of every week's discussion board. Okay, but then underneath are the actual 4 questions for that week, or for that chapter, really. So for example, let's look at one of the short ones. Number 2, astronomical discoveries clearly are important to science, but are they also important to our personal lives? Defend your opinion. Okay, so that's you could write a post about that, right? Your post should be at least 3 or 4 sentences long. It can certainly be longer, and then if you're the person that first posts that, now no one else can answer that question after you answer it, but if you're the person that first posts that, then I'm going to respond and comment on how thorough your answer is. The reason I like to make sure that I respond to any individual answers to the essay prompts is because these essay prompts are the very same ones that become the eligible pool for the exams. Because every exam is going to have 4 essay questions on it. And those essay questions are going to come from these weekly discussion prompts. Okay? That's where they come from. So in that sense, you will be prepared to answer those essay questions on the exam. Okay? And it's not necessarily the exam won't necessarily be all of those. Sometimes it'll be like 3 out of 4, but most of the essay questions on the exam will come from these participation questions. Okay? All right, well, finally on to quizzes. Let's go back to the home page. All right. Go back home. All right, so quizzes, again, will show up in every module. All right, so along with the homework and the quiz, there's one per chapter. So there'll be quizzes every week, or at least every chapter. They'll be composed of multiple choice questions, unlike the homework, because you recall the homework doesn't have any multiple choice questions. All the quizzes will be online through Mastering Astronomy, so you got to pay for it. You don't pay separately from the homework. You pay for the access, you get the quizzes and the homework. So each quiz will have 10 questions, and you'll have 15 minutes to complete the quiz. So the homework isn't timed, okay, but quizzes are. All right. Now you can start the quizzes anytime. You have quite a few days that the quiz will be available, about a week that the quiz will be available, or 5 days, 4 or 5 days. But the point is that once you start it, you got 15 minutes to finish it. So you got to make sure that you set aside that time and you're ready to do it. Because the point is it's supposed to move kind of fast. I want you to already know this information. Okay. They're straightforward reading questions. These aren't tricky questions. I'll put a few tricky multiple choice questions on the exam, but the reading questions, which are the quizzes, they're meant to be the more straightforward, like, did you get the content? Did you actually look at the content? Did you actually watch the lecture video? Those are the types of questions that will be reflected in the quizzes, okay? They'll represent an opportunity to practice the multiple choice questions, okay, that are all about memorizing of facts, okay, and important ideas, and they're worth 15% of your final grade, just as much as the participation, okay? So that's kind of it in terms of what you get credit for in terms of keeping up with the class. Of course, the big part of any college class are the exams, all right? So we have 2 exams and 1 final exam. All right, the dates of the exam are listed on the calendar below. I've mentioned that calendar a lot. We're going to get to it really soon, but you'll see them because they'll show up in the modules. So for example, when you get to a module, and in every module except for the first module is currently locked, but as you get down to the appropriate module, you're actually going to see the exam show up. Let's see if we can find the one that has it. I haven't included it yet, but it will show up in the last module, which is the last chapter that's covered by that exam. So for example, if exam 1, I think it covers chapters 1 through 5, you're actually going to see exam 1 show up at the bottom of the chapter 5 module. So there'll be another tab right here that actually says exam 1. All right, so that's one place you'll see it. But of course, it will also show up in your to-do list in terms of your assignments for the course when you go to Canvas, okay? All right, so each of the 2 exams, those are the midterm exams, will focus on the recent chapters as outlined in the calendar below. So it's very clear what chapters are covered. It covers all the chapters up until the time of the exam. Okay, the final exam will be cumulative, so it'll cover all the chapters, so all 15 chapters, but it'll have approximately 1/4 new material that isn't on the midterm, because we have this second midterm exam, and then we have we cover like 2 more chapters, I think, and then we have the final. So those two chapters didn't show up on a midterm, but they will show up on the final. So the final is completely cumulative, but it kind of, what do you use to study for the final? Well, the midterms, certainly, both the midterms, and then that new material, okay? Exams will be a combination of multiple choice questions, math-based problems, and short essay questions. Okay? So that's the format. Now, where are these questions coming from? Well, the multiple choice questions, some of them will come straight from the reading quizzes, from the weekly quizzes. Okay? Other ones will be, some variations that are of content, right? Important facts and information and ideas that maybe I present in the lecture videos, or maybe from the textbook. Okay? So that's the idea of the multiple choice questions that you'll see on the exam. The math-based problems, those are going to come directly from the homework. Right? Because the homework was all those interactive tutorials, which you'll see as you start to do homework 1 and as you continue to do all the homeworks over the semester. But then in addition to those interactive tutorials on the homework, there's always some math-based problems, like calculating how far light travels in a certain amount of time, or calculating the amount of energy that's outputted by a particular star given a formula, right? And it's usually pretty clear, like what formula that you need to use, and that's a big part of this class. When you do need to use a particular formula, you're given that formula, and you don't really even need to do any algebraic manipulation. We're not solving for unknowns. You're given a formula, you plug the values in. You just have to make sure you know how to calculate it and know how to actually enter the values in terms of parentheses and raising the particular powers and taking square roots and so on. So it mostly comes down to correct data entry into your calculator and then understanding of scientific notation and so on. But those are the math-based problems, and on the exam they'll come directly from the homework. Now I'll change the values a little bit, but the problem will be directly inspired from that homework problem. All right. Now there's always more math-based homework problems than there are on the exam, so I pick and choose which ones I want to include. Okay. And I say down below how many there are on each exam. And then the short essay questions, well, I bet you know where those are going to come from. I already said those come from the weekly participation. Those chapter 2 essay questions, like I'm hovering over right now, or the chapter 1 essay questions, those weekly essay questions are the very same ones that I'm going to be pulling from to put on the exam, right? With probably one new essay question that you haven't seen before. Each midterm will have 40, here's the actual breakdown of all the midterms, 40 multiple choice questions, all right, worth 1 point each, 2 math-based problems worth 10 points each, and 4 short essay questions worth 10 points each, for a total of 100 points, all right, 100-point midterm exams, okay? The final exam will be 60, 3, and 6, so that's a 150-point exam, so it's just 1.5 times as long, okay? So many questions, problems, and essays on exams will be from quizzes, homework, and discussion boards, but some will be new, all right? But much of it you have seen before. That's the idea. If you're keeping up with all the content through the weekly modules, you should be well prepared for the exams. Each midterm exam will be worth 10% of your final grade, all right? So each one isn't too big, right? But together it's 20%. But the real big points are the final exam. The final exam is 30% of your grade, okay? Both midterms will be held on a Monday with 2 hours to complete. So they're like the quizzes, but they're available for a shorter amount of time. They're only available for a 24 period of time. They're going to be based in Canvas, not Mastering Astronomy or My Lab and Mastering. Okay, so all the exams will be based in Canvas, but they're timed. So once you start them, you have 2 hours to finish them, the midterms. The final exam will also be available during a 24-hour period of time on Thursday, December 16th, and you'll have 3 hours to complete it. Okay? All right, here's the letter grade breakdown. It's just like you expect 90% and above is an A, and so on, okay? And I reserve the right to lower those if I need to, and I'll talk about why. Like if there's not enough A's in the class, for example, but I would never raise them, right? So if everybody gets A's, everybody gets A's, okay? And this is just summarizing where your grade comes from. So 20% for the homework. I do drop the lowest homework assignment, so you get one freebie or one homework you could skip or one that you just don't do very well on. Same for quizzes, I drop one lowest. Participation, you have to do the full 6 participations. It's not that many, right? Because I want quality over quantity. Exams, you got the 10% each, and then you got that final exam, the capstone of the class, 30% of the grade. Okay, and here's that calendar, right? So here we are in week 1, which is the week of the 16th to the 22nd. So Monday the 16th through Sunday the 22nd. Every one of the weeks is a Monday to a Sunday, all right? And you can see the topic is Modern View of the Universe. That's the title of chapter 1. We have a quiz due on Friday, and we have a homework due on Sunday. So Friday the 20th of August and Sunday the 22nd of August are our first 2 assignments. That's basically the way that assignments are always going to work. They're always due with a quiz on a Friday and a homework on a Sunday, right? But the quiz is available all week, or at least from Tuesday. You usually post out on Monday, but at the latest on Tuesday, and it's going to be available that whole week. Okay. All right, and that again, that's every week is that same way, except for the times that we have. Say if you look here for chapter 4 actually covers 2 weeks. That's the first time we have an extended chapter, or one that's spread out over 2 weeks. And so that means that all the assignments actually aren't going to take place until the end of that 2-week period. So you kind of have a weekend off, if you look at the calendar there. And then you notice exam 1 covers chapters 1 through 6. I said 1 through 5 because I couldn't remember, but actually exam 1 covers chapters 1 through 6. And it takes place on Monday, the 4th of October. And that's the way exams are, both the midterms are. As I said up above in the bullet point in red, midterms always take place on Monday. And they always take place on the Monday after the last content finished. All right. So the last due date for content that is on exam 1 was the day before the exam. There is a homework assignment due, as you can see, there will be a homework assignment due on October 3rd. Okay. And that's homework 6 for chapter 6. All right. Well, exam 1 covers chapters 1 through 6. So it's once you've got everything done that you would be responsible for in the exam takes place that very next day. So it kind of bleeds over into the next chapter, because you can see technically, the idea, or the next week and the next week is reserved for that chapter, because the next chapter, chapter 7, takes place during week 8. Well, it goes from October 4th until October 10th, and you can see, well, technically exam 1 is on October 4th, right? But that's because I want you to be completely done with all the content by the time you take the exam, okay? And again, the exam is available anytime during that day, Monday, October 4th, but once you start it, you have 2 hours to finish it, okay? And then we just go into the second chunk of material, which is going to be another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 modules, because it's another 6 chapters. Then that finishes up with another exam happening on the 22nd of November, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving. So kind of a good time to get that done, and kind of not worry about exams over your Thanksgiving break. All right. And then, by the way, on that note, because we do have Thanksgiving, and that Thanksgiving is at the end of the week, right? Normally, I don't want to have normally there's a quiz due on a Friday, but I can't have a quiz due the day after Thanksgiving. It's a holiday, right? And so then, unusually, both the quiz and the homework are going to be due on Mondays, the Monday after Thanksgiving. So you can kind of, push everything back that particular week, all right? But then we get back to a normal schedule with the last few chapters: dark matter, dark energy, life in the universe. And then finally, we have our final exam on Thursday, the 16th of December. Here are some important dates in terms of the administrative side of the college. This applies to any class, just also applies to this one. Last day to drop with a refund, last day to drop with no refund, census date, that's more for me than you, last day to withdraw, and then you can see this is new, this is a new policy. The last date to file pass, no pass is now actually December 17th. It used to be sometime in September, but now you can change the pass, no pass at the very last minute. You can literally change the pass, no pass after taking the final exam. Now, I won't have it graded yet. It'll take me about another 3 or 4 days to grade it, but you will know how you did, and you could change the pass, no pass at the very last minute, okay? And here is just some other relevant information about financial aid, netiquette, students with disabilities, and so on, including academic integrity, no cheating, okay? These exams are all meant to be taken individually. Well, I think that's a really good summary of the syllabus, which is a good introduction to the class. I hope you're all interested and excited about learning about astronomy. Please go ahead and check out that first lecture video and see, what my lecture videos are all about and what the initial content is. I welcome messages in Canvas and seeing you all in office hours, and I'm really looking forward to interacting with you by responding to those discussion posts. All right, well, bye for now.